Hey, it's Kley. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another video. This is going to be a verbal review. I'm going to have some examples, but I'm going to be focusing my attention today on the Zoom G3 and G3X and give you my thoughts on the units and kind of explain how I use them and honestly why I think they're such terrific multi-effects units. I am really thrilled with mine. To give you a little bit of backstory, I've actually owned 3 different Zoom products. I've owned 2 G3s and 1 G3X. The reality of the situation is that every time if I would find something new or different, I would kind of bounce to it, try it out, but then realize that it really didn't offer the same amount of bang for your buck as the G3 or the G3X. Quite simply, I've gotten to the point where there's nothing else out there that really can do the same types of things for me at such a low price point. So in terms of bang for your buck and just being a complete Swiss Army knife of a tool, I really love it. Let's go ahead and walk through some of the reasons why I like the unit so much. Alright, so I'm taking a look at the G3X. This is the one that I currently have on my pedal board, and I just wanted to explain a little bit of functionality and just kind of walk through why I think it is such a great unit. For starters, it is a really excellent multi-effects. So that's my current primary use, is that I use it just as a multi-effects, meaning I use it for multiple different types of effects, and then I use a guitar amp somewhere else. Sometimes I use an atomic amplifier if I'm going digital. Sometimes I'll use a tube amp. It's really versatile and works well on both sides. Now, I haven't had any problems with it in terms of getting any kind of tone suck or anything like that. I have it set to the direct mode, which, in my mind, that makes the most sense. If I'm going studio direct, that means that I don't want to have any sort of EQ compensation. I just am using it for effects. Now, if I'm using the amps, then maybe I'll consider using some of that. But just for my purpose as a multi-effects, I don't have any trouble with that. Now, in terms of functionality, some of the things that I really love about the unit is that it's just very efficient. It covers a lot of bases, and it gives me a lot of effective use. So for starters, you have 3 active effects, and then you have 3 in the background. So the 3 that are listed here, you can see on the left I have a mod delay. Then in the middle I have an HD reverb. Then on the right I have another delay. Actually, typically I would have the order a little different, but so I'm using this right now as a delay and reverb pedal, as a dedicated delay. And if you just think about it for a second, I bought this for maybe 120 bucks. Compare it to other delay pedals that you are in that price range. Just for delays, this thing is excellent. It's basically like a Line 6 DL4 or a TC Electronic X4, something like that. It has external tap tempo, which you can see here on the right with this red T tap tempo unit. And I have 3 independent effects that I can use at any time. So, I have 2 delays and reverb. I could use 3 delays. You can stack as many as you want. And that's a feature that I really love that not a lot of other multi-effects in this range have, is the ability to have independent, you can stack as many instances of a single effect as you want. Then you also have 3 effects in the background, which is something I really like. So, if I scroll all the way to the end of the chain, you can see I've got an HD reverb and it's on. This is just set up as a very basic room reverb. It's not something that I want to be able to turn on or off, and so it's great to just have this in the background as an always-on type of effect. Similarly, if I go over to this side, I currently have a flanger and an auto-wah, but I also have at times used EQ or compression, which is a type of effect that you might want to just leave always on. Like, let's say you want to have some EQ to let the guitar compensate for a certain amp, or if you want to put some compression on to help smooth things out, this is a great place to put it. Again, it's always on in the background, and you can just set it and forget about it, which I really like. So, you're basically getting a ton of slot efficiency. You don't have to have another spot on your pedal board. You don't have to have the cables. You don't have to have the power switch available. You just set it in the background and forget about it. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about my specific uses. Let's talk about the actual effects themselves. In terms of sound quality, this unit is, I'm just going to call it moderately, the sound quality is moderate, meaning it doesn't compete with something like a Strymon or some of the other very high-end types of effects pedals, you know, if you really want a pristine tape delay emulation, you know, this is not going to be your jam. But if you're looking more at something that's like a Boss type of delay or a Line 6 type of delay, I think this unit competes very, very excellently. So you can see on the right in the third slot, I have a digital delay. It's simple to use too, which is nice. You know, so I've got, when you press the page button, you have the first screen is just kind of the picture so you know what's there. Then the second page gives you some basic functionality. You can see I've got it set to a dotted eighth with relatively low feedback and high mix. And the third page just gives you some more, you know, just kind of interesting functionality, which is just kind of really helped to really dial in these delays. You know, then the second one I have is a modulated delay. You know, and this one's got a little more character. It's got the modulation going on. So I have this set to a quarter note with a little bit more lower mix and feedback, just kind of something to give me a little bit of space. You know, and again, both of these are synced via external tab tempo. Both of them can be on or off, independent of one another. I can combine the two. It just is really, really powerful. And then in my third slot, I actually have an HD reverb, which the HD reverb model on this unit is excellent, and it actually covers any reverb need that I would have. It does a great kind of room or plate style reverb, and it also does a pretty solid, more cavernous ambient type reverb as well, which is really cool. Now, if you're looking for a very specific type of like spring reverb, you know, that's closely matches that you would find on a Fender amp, you know, this isn't really going to do that very well. But you know, so in terms of very, very detailed tone seeking, if you really have an effect that you highly prioritize, then I wouldn't use this. But for just kind of a more general type use, where the purest tone quality isn't maybe your highest priority, you just need like a very straightforward, effective digital delay for a dotted eighth. You don't need anything crazy there. And then the modulated delay gives you some of that character, and you know, it just is a very effective unit for, again, a ton of bang for your buck. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the other types of things going on. It has a lot of other effects, and as you saw earlier, you know, if I go over here, I have things like Ottawa or flanger. These are types of effects that I personally don't use all that frequently on a day-to-day basis, but every once in a while I'll have a song where it seems to call for that type of effect, and it's really nice to have it available. You know, so things like chorus, flanger, tremolo, all those other types of modulations, and you know, pitch shifting and bit crushing and all synths. You know, this unit has a tremendous amount of available effects, and these aren't the types of things that I would want to spend $100 on a dedicated pedal for. So for me, it's a really nice solution to cover that ground. If I want to scratch that itch, this can do it pretty functionally. Now let's also talk about another thing that I love about this pedal is that it has a tremendous ability to replace effects on my board. So as you can see, the G3X has an expression pedal. Now, to be entirely clear, the expression pedal on this unit is kind of cheap. You know, the effective travel is pretty low. It doesn't really feel that great compared to something like a nice Ernie Ball pedal or a nice Mission expression pedal. But it is still quite functional. I can get some volume swells or some wah work. You know, these aren't types of things that I use extremely heavily. And so again, the same type of model before is if you're someone who really heavily uses the volume pedal, then get a dedicated volume pedal. But if it's just something you use every once in a while, then the expression pedal actually comes in really handy in a pinch. Also, this has a built-in tuner. And the tuner actually is quite functional. It is perfectly good, and it has allowed me to not have to carry a dedicated tuning pedal on my board, which again I love. There's less cables, less potential chance for noise or failure. You don't have to have the power supply slot for that, don't have to have the room on my board. It's already built in, and it just makes things really, really easy. And again, it gives me tremendous bang for your buck. You know, you could spend $100 on a tuning pedal alone. Also, we have another thing here is we have a built-in looper. So in my experience, the looper on this pedal is quite good. It sounds nice. It is a little bit limited in terms that it's only 40 seconds and that it can't do like multiple loops like a verse chorus or an A-B type setup. But compared to something like a basic ditto looper, I think this is excellent. If you just need some simple, one stanza of chords, this thing can really fill that slot in a pinch. And again, you could spend $100 alone on a looper, and this is basically almost just as effective as a simple ditto looper. And another thing that I really like about the looper is that it's independent of your preset, right? So I could create a loop, and then I can jump back to my preset or my pedals, change my sound entirely, and then go back to the looper and layer a totally new sound on top of it. You could do start off with a basic patch, then you could do one with a delay, then you can do one that has like a pitch shift for a bass. You could do one that has a lot of reverb for ambient stuff. It just is really powerful as a looping pedal because it is independent of the tone you have, so you can always get a lot of cool sounds on your loops. So now I want to talk a little bit about the amp modeling and its ability to function for direct recording. The amp modeling on this unit, again, is a little bit moderate. So compared to something like the Atomic Amplifier or the Axe Effects or the Helix, this is going to fall short. It's not going to have that same level of depth and detail. However, I have a lot of clips on my channel that you can check out, and actually the amp modeling is quite solid. And the biggest thing that I like about this unit is how it can provide amp modeling in a lot of ways that other units can't. This unit can be battery driven, so you could take this to gigs where you can't even plug into a power supply and use it very, very simply and straightforwardly that way if that's not an option for a certain type of gig. Also, a number of times is if I'm just going to go on like a trip, maybe like a Christmas trip to see some family, and I want to, that can mean I'd have to go a week without playing guitar, and so I can bring this G3X along, I can bring a cable, and I can bring a USB cable, and I can record direct to my computer because it has interfacing capabilities. Also, you could set up a preset that is completely blank and just use this as a simple interface. Plug your guitar in, use the USB to go to your computer, and then use whatever VST plugins you want in your DAW. If you want to use Amplitude or Bias or S-Gear or whatever plugins you want to use, this can actually work great for that purpose. Again, an audio interface could be $100, and so this functions really nicely in that regard, which is very useful. So I really enjoy being able to do that. Additionally, you can use this as a DI. So when I say DI, I'm talking more about bass and acoustic. Every once in a while, I will have to play bass or acoustic in a live situation where I really would need a DI. And having the Zoom G3X means I don't have to buy a dedicated bass DI or anything like that. I can use this. And the nice thing is that it has a full range of effects. So if I want to, say I'm running a bass rig, I might want to use some compression, some EQ, maybe just a touch of reverb. Same thing on acoustic. I could add some distortion if I want to get kind of crazy. I have just a ton of options. It has filters, it has pitch shifting. So this is a very, very powerful bass setup. And the best part about it is that it has an XLR balanced output, which is a huge deal for this type of setup. That means that you don't have to have an extra DI box. You can just run straight out of this through a long cable to the front of house. And again, it can run on batteries, so it's really, really useful that you don't have to bring anything else along. It just is such a simple and effective solution for that type of setup where, again, playing acoustic guitar in a live environment isn't my primary thing, but I do it every once in a while, and it's really nice to have this unit that can cover those needs. So with all those things being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I really like this unit. If I had to summarize my thoughts on it, I would just call it the Swiss Army knife of my rig. It is not a device that I think it does anything really like 10 out of 10 excellent compared to all the other competition. If you want like an amazing tape delay, it's not going to sound as good as an El Capistan. If you want amazing amp modeling, it's not going to sound as good as an Axe-Fx. But the amount of things that it can do quite well, like 7 out of 10, is amazing. It's really impressive for a unit that's $100, $150. And there are a lot of things in my rig where I don't need the best out of the best. I need something that is functional. I need something that I can use in a pinch, and so this unit really works for that. Now, on the flip side, if you're somebody that really desires to have that 10 out of 10 in every slot, then maybe this unit isn't for you. and that's okay. But if you're somebody who you kind of understand where I'm coming from, where you can use something that can be this jackknife of all trades, you know, that it can just cover a lot of roles and wear a lot of different hats for you, and just really make your rig a lot more versatile, then I think this unit is excellent, and I would highly recommend it. Even though it's been years since this has been released, I can see myself using this device for many years to come. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you soon. Bye.